Um, this is yet another series from Consultants Consortium of Chennai and Management System Consultants Consortium. As you are all aware, we have two associations for the consultants. CCC is almost about a 5-year-old organization, and Management System Consultants Consortium is just a newborn baby. And this is an initiative from the Consultants Association to create stakeholder education, not only for the consultants, but for industry and various other stakeholders on various standards, certification programs, and regulations. As a consultants body, you're all aware, many of you have been attending the programs regularly. Uh, our focus is actually to create knowledge sessions in the domain of standards, be it domestic or international standards, or various certification programs and regulations, predominantly technical, but programs like ESG, which is also a financial regulation. So this is the today's program is actually on FSSC 24,000 standard, an international standard to help organizations, business entities to implement management systems which create a social impact, so socially relevant initiatives. So this is a standard which is a new, I guess. So we have invited the scheme owner, the foundation FSSC is the scheme owner for this particular standard. We should thank them, and they have come forward to educate and train the consultants. And this program is actually designed not only for management system consultants, but also to include various other practitioners who are practicing social accountability standards. Like you have legal professionals, we have HR professionals, we have chartered accountants, we have company secretaries, because even ESG is a financial regulation, as I was mentioning. So they are also practicing all this. This is an open session for all consultants, not just management system consultants, to spread this more knowledge and awareness on this standard. So we thank all the audience for joining us today, and we thank Francisco, Steve, who's joining us from Foundation FSSC. We thank Smita Murthy, who's a country head, country in charge for this organization. So today's session will have two speakers touching upon, just a second. Yeah, this is, we have speakers. The first speaker of the day is Smita Murthy. She is the representative of FSSC, followed by speaker Francisco Steve, who's a strategic advisor for 24,000. So we will have Ms. Smita Murthy talking about the role of Foundation FSSC, what do they do and why do they do what they do, and followed by the session from Francisco Steve on why the standard is needed, what are the market drivers, where is the need for the standard, because those of us who are in this space, we already know that, yes, we do have, when we talk about social impact, we talk about social accountability standards, we do have basic standards on governance in the market. We do have some of the standards on workplace health and safety, like OSHAs and all that. So what is it that FSCC 24,000 is going to do, why it is designed and all that, we will be knowing from them, we'll be learning from them. Today's session is the very first session in the series, which is just a teaser session. And maybe later on, we will also plan to roll out some more programs on this. Aarti, can I have the speaker PPT, please? Yes. So let me just briefly introduce a speaker for the day. We have some of us who have attended earlier sessions, previous sessions. Excuse me. Hello. Request the audience to mute themselves, please. So Smita Moti has even she had spoken in one of our earlier sessions. I don't remember whether it was for World Accreditation Day or World Standards Day celebrations last year, I guess. So she is the India representative for FSSC, and she is a microbiologist by education and with extensive experience in the domain of food safety and quality standards. With having worked in the industry with organizations like Coca-Cola, has about more than 2 decades of experience, and almost about a decade of our experience is spent on auditing manufacturing facilities globally for quality and food safety. And she is also served as the director of Eurasia Analytical Service Center before joining FSSC in 2019. Now, she is also wearing the hat of an entrepreneur. Good to see women entrepreneurs. She's turned an entrepreneur in 2018, and she's running her own cafe and consulting on food safety and quality. So over to you, ma'am. We would like to listen to you.
Is my screen visible, ma'am?
Yes, yes, clear.
Okay. So thank you everyone for joining today evening. I know it's a Friday evening, just the weekend has started, and thank you, Rama ma'am, for organizing this and having us talk to you on FSSC 24,000. So FSSC 24,000 is a social management scheme from Foundation FSSC, and in the course of this webinar, we will talk a little bit about what our foundation does, what the standard is, and then my colleague Francisco will take you on why it's really needed and why did we think of having this scheme and how does it help. So briefly, I'll quickly touch upon what Foundation FSSC does, how our system is an ISO aligned system that we have, the benefits of 24,000, and a brief comparison of the other schemes that are there. I know a lot of you on the call today might be knowing about SA 8000 and other schemes. So I'll just talk to you. The slides for today will be shared with CCC. So all the registered participants will definitely get it. Okay. So Foundation FSSC. Foundation FSSC is a non-profit owner of 2 schemes, FSSC 22,000. I think FSSC is very familiar to people who are in the food space. And 22,000 is a very popular food safety scheme, which has been, I think, there for now 15 years. So we are a premium brand. Can you please mute yourself?
Aarti, can we just see whose audio is on, and we can just give it one minute. Please give me 1 minute, please. Muted, Aarti?
I think
one more person is also in unmute one.
Unmute. No, I'm just trying to check who it is. Can I request the audience to mute themselves, please?
Then
I guess.
Yeah, done? Yeah, thank you. Please
continue.
Okay,
just quickly about Foundation FSSC and who we are. Like I said, we are a non-profit organization based out of Netherlands. And we own this scheme called FSSC 22,000. A lot of you in the food space will already know of it. It's a standard, that's a scheme that's been here for over 15 years and quite popular in our country. We have a new scheme, 24,000, which we'll talk about today. But our main aim as a foundation is to support the consumer goods industry with effective management systems and protecting their brands and achieving their targets. Of course, by doing this, we are also contributing towards the global SDGs. I'm sorry. So the way we look at ourselves is like a branded house. We have 3 pillars. First is our schemes, like I said, 22,000, which has been here for over 15 years. and FSSC 24,000, which is our newly introduced scheme on social management. The next pillar is our assurance, because the foundation values integrity. We have a governance role that we do an oversight on all the accreditation bodies and the certification bodies that offer this scheme to organizations. So our role is to have a governance oversight over these activities. And in terms of improvement, we are doing a lot of learning and development work. We have an assurance platform, which is our way of giving information to organizations that they need it on findings, on their audit certification status, etc. And also for small and medium enterprises, we are developing something called as the development program, which is like a level-wise or stepwise approach to meet the full certification needs. We look at ourselves. And like I said, the foundation is run by a management board. There is an oversight from a board of stakeholders. We have advisory committees, one for FSSC 22,000 and an advisory committee also looking into 24,000. So this is briefly how we are organized. We have global representation. I have colleagues spread out across the world. As you can see, some of them have joined the call today as well. So we have a team that's around the world to support all of you. And 22,000, which is our scheme that's been here for 15 years, we have almost close to 35,000 certificates now worldwide. And presently we are in FSSC 22,000 version 6, which has just started from April 2024, which is mainly for the food supply chain. And now we are into 24,000. So all our standards are based on the ISO principles. So you will probably have this question of why does a food safety, the system kind of also write a standard on 24,000 on social management. Francisco will talk to that, why we are doing it. But as a foundation, we know there is a need to drive compliance to international due diligence. And there is a huge supply chain, which requires a kind of understanding, a kind of certification to make sure that we are meeting all the needs from external stakeholders, from investors. You've just heard Rama ma'am mentioning ESG. That is becoming a big thing. Also, there are regulatory requirements in a lot of countries which are driving ethical business practices, as we say. And of course, us as a foundation, because we want to base all the standards on an ISO platform, it also helps integrate management system. So like I said, both our standards, FSSC 22,000 and 24,000, are based on the ISO management system. So for all of you, I know in India, most consultants are familiar with ISO. So the same high-level structure, the same harmonized structure is there within all our standards. And this helps integrate our schemes very easily with the other ISO schemes. So be it 45,000 for OSHAs or 27,001 for security management or 14,000 for environment. Since all of them are based on the similar harmonized structure, it's very easy to integrate our scheme requirements also here. So now coming to the main topic for today, FSSC 24,000. So FSSC 24,000, again, like I've been repeating, we are ISO aligned. It's a voluntary certification scheme. Of course, before developing this scheme, there's years of work that's gone into it. And we've had consultations with global stakeholders who have helped us shape up this standard, this scheme. The aim is to actually ensure safe and fair working conditions, meeting all the business ethic needs, and using due diligence or applying due diligence to our supply chains. So this is becoming more and more critical in the world that we are living in. And so this is something that we thought there was a need for a scheme like this, which was ISO aligned. And because it is from Foundation FSSC and we have already over 15 years of experience in our food safety scheme, in our FSSC 22,000, the trust and the governance that we bring to FSSC 22,000 is, of course, also going to be part of FSSC 22,000. The scope of this 24,000 I think everybody knows us as FSSC. Scope of this standard, the 24,000. Okay, so it uh, extends to all industries. It's in a way industry agnostic. Every sector can implement the standard. Of course, we do not apply. One is the tobacco industry, tobacco and tobacco products, fur and fur products, and weapons. So that is something that we are excluding. Weapons, explosives, also nuclear fuels. So that's something that doesn't come in the scope. But everything else, any other industry can apply the standard. It's not only for food. That is just FSSC 22,000 that was specific to food industry. This is industry agnostic, can be applied across board in all these industries. Okay. So FSSC 24,000 has been, the base of it was past 24,000. It's a standard that was written by BSI, and that's become the foundation that we use to do this 24,000. And it's a basic framework of policies and processes that can be used by an organization to make sure that your workers are treated fairly, there's a safe working environment, that you're meeting all the minimum requirements that are there on labor relationships, on human rights, business ethics, and on health and safety. The past 24,000 is available on the FSSC website, and I encourage you to go and have a look at it. FSSC 24,000 also has an added advantage of being SSCI benchmarked or approved. So now I've just put this slide here so all of you understand what SSCI is. For people from the food industry, I think all of you are familiar with GFSI and the Global Food Safety Initiative. The Consumer Goods Forum also has one vertical that is SSCI, just like GFSI, but this is something that focuses on sustainable supply chains. And it was launched sometime in 2017. And with the mission that it gives guidance to buyers and suppliers within supply chains on which auditing, monitoring, and certification schemes meet all the relevant sustainability requirements and the governance. So by any scheme like FSSC 22,000, when we say we are SSCI benchmarked or approved, that we have recognition from SSCI, it means that we are meeting we are driving the harmonization, and we are aligned with the SSCI requirements. So all standards that do get SSCI certification or approval or recognition have the same basic level. We drive the harmonization, and we are aligned with what the consumer good industry as a whole is looking at as sustainable supply chain. So that is why SSCI is very important, and I'm happy to say we are one of the standards which is now SSCI recognized. Like FSSC 22,000 and like ISO standards generally, we have a 3-year certification cycle. So you start with the first year, and then you have a recertification audit in the 3rd year with surveillances audits happening in between. Okay, so all the FSSC 24,000 scheme documents are free to download from our website, that is fssc.com. You can go there and get all the requirements, all the standard scheme requirements there. It's free to download. I'm not going to talk in depth about what the standard actually is or clause by clause, because like Rama ma'am said, this is just a teaser. This is session 1. We just want you to know there's a standard out there and the need for it. And probably we will follow it up with sessions for interested consultants, taking a deep dive into our standard. I would like to quickly talk about the benefits of 24,000 before giving it to Francisco. Like I said, I've talked about this. We are ISO aligned. We are based on the ISO structure. So it's very easy for organizations. I know most Indian organizations have some ISO standard. Very easy to integrate these standards because we are based on the same structure. And like ISO standards, this is also a risk-based approach. So you have to think through your own risks that your business brings in and use that approach to develop the management system for yourself. And of course, like I said, we have the experience in governing schemes with our FSSC 22000 already. We have a robust integrity program by which we govern the accreditation and the certifying bodies. So this is one of the benefits. Of course, the bigger benefit is we have a public register. So if you want to go and see if some company approaches you in a supply chain, as a supplier to you, you can go to our public register and find out if they really have the accreditation, the certification to 24,000 or not. So it's very difficult if it's an ISO, just an ISO scheme. You can't really go and check whether the name of the company is there in the ISO site. But on FSSC site, we have a public register. So all the genuinely certified organizations will find their name there. Okay. The other benefits, like I mentioned, SSCI, we are globally accepted because we meet the SSCI benchmarking requirements. We have an assurance platform, which we are planning to use, and we've just rolled out in a very limited way now, but where data can be shared within an organization, or if you have several units or several, your company is widespread, has multiple units, you can share audit data, audit reports, audit findings, and maybe, when is your audit due, whether your certificate is valid, all this kind of thing can be done through our assurance platform. Of course, because we are talking about supply chains and social audits, this standard also kind of says that you've gone through the due diligence process and that you're a responsible business. Additional requirements, as and when things come up, we can add it because it's it's an FSSC standard, and we can add on requirements as new threats come up, for example. For huge organizations or organizations which want specific requirements to be audited within the social space, we can look at, customizing organization specific requirements and add it on to our standard so that it's audited together. Of course, like I said, the guidance documents, the scheme documents, all of these are available free to download on our website. And last but not the least, I'm going to just give you a comparison to the other standards. And for those of you who work in textiles, maybe a lot of these standards are something that probably are implemented. So, I'm not going to read through the slides. We will be giving you these slides, but you can see that SSCI recognition is available with FSSC 24000 and just one other standard, the BRC, TS, ETRS. The others do not have SSCI recognition. And we have the harmonized structure. We are based on the ISO Harmonized Structure, which is again something the other standards do not have. So when you talk about integrating all the management system standards, reducing the number of audits, having integrated, this is the way to go. It makes it much more easier. Like I've just talked about all these data sharing and things, so I will not repeat it, but these slides will come to you later for, you can go through them. There are a lot of guidance documents now on our website. So if you're just starting to implement or thinking about implementing FSSC 24000 or a social management system, there is guidance available on our website, which you can download and go through it. It helps you not only with 24000, but it will also give you some ideas on how to look at risks and opportunities, context of the organization, which is there in all ISO standards as well. And it will help you understand this system much better. I'm going to now hand it over to my colleague, Francisco, and he'll take you 24000 as one of the management systems.
Thank you. Thank you.
Francisco, over to you.
Just give me 2 minutes. I will introduce him formally.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for that wonderful presentation, Smita. I've just jotted down a few questions, which we will do it later. Aarti, can we have Mr. Francisco's presentation, the slide, please? So thank you so much once again, Francisco, for joining us today and be part of this knowledge sharing initiative. It's a pleasure to have you with us. So Francisco Steve he's a strategic advisor for FSSC 24,000 at Foundation FSSC. He has about 3 decades of experience in the food and consumer packaged goods industry. He's worked since 2011 in risk and compliance management, quality management systems, computer systems validation, and pharmaceutical products in IT. He's a computer engineer by training. He's worked across various corporate positions in Switzerland and USA for Nestle since 1993. And then he's part of various corporate roles in driving corporate culture through design and development of training and communication initiatives. So he's involved in the corporate human rights and sustainability committees. He was responsible for CARE, a social audit program for Nestle regarding conditions at workplace and employment, on business integrity, safety, health, environment, security, and the local communities and labor accommodations. So he is part of creating this BSI past 24,000, which is actually the foundation and the basis for developing this FSSC 24,000 standard. Thank you for joining us. The world over, there's so much of talk and noise about die, and there are also campaigns happening parallelly that die should die. So in this UCA world out there, where the businesses have to really show their commitment towards environmental obligations and the social responsibility and governance. More than E, what we are seeing at the marketplace, both globally as well as in the domestic front, more than E, environmental related, some initiatives are happening, taking place. The S and G, the ethics side of it and the social responsibility side of it is going to gain a lot of prominence because marketplace entities and business entities have to focus a little more on all this. So over to you, Francisco. We would like to hear from you about the FSSC 24,000, the objective behind this and what the scheme is all about. Thank you.
Thank you, Rama. Thank you for the introduction. Just on the slides, in fact, it's Nestle. There was an E with an accent that with the change of font, he moved to an A.
Okay.
And thank you to Smita for the good introduction on 24,000. In fact, you have said already a lot. I will try just to do now my part and just focalize from a consultant point of view and give you a certain number of key points that you can use as a kind of marketing key points or sell key points. Try to, if you approach companies or if you try to sell, let's say, this standard and how to approach it, why it's important, why we believe it's important, why we have done it, and who may be interested in it. So I will share my screen. Please let me know when you see it in full screen mode. Okay, Zoom, share the screen. Okay, tell me, you see it?
Yeah, it's
my
coming
screen?
on.
Yes. Yeah,
Right.
we can see the screen. Yeah.
Good. So first thing is why FSSC, a foundation like FSSC that was focalized on 22,000 in food safety, moves from that to something like social. So a lot of people could go and say why they do that. And in fact, I want to give you the idea that is behind and why it's a natural, normal step after working on that to work on the next step that is 24,000. If you're in the food industry, food safety is your core business. If there is no food safety, your company is over, it's done. I always say when I work in Nestle, killing customers is a very bad marketing plan, right? Okay, so that is clear for everyone. If you're on the food business, you need to be safe and you need to provide safety. Now, if you are on the board, if you're a member of the board of a food company, once you have ensured food safety with something like FSSC 22,000, what is your next step? And what is the evolution of society and what you need to think about? Most companies, they are seeing that they are asked more and more by the legislators, by the society, or move from, this is my business, this is the money I produce in 1 year, so you have my annual report. On my annual report, it said, last year I was here, now this year I'm there. This is the benefit that we have generated. And now more and more, the legislator is turning back to say, well, sorry, you are not giving the full picture. You are giving the picture of the money that you have made, but tell me what it means to make that money, what it means to have this benefit, what you have done, and what is the impact of your activities for generating that money, and what is this impact on the environment, and what is the impact on people, in particular in your own employees and on your customers and the people that use your products and the people that deliver products to you. And there you have a full picture. Is what is called double reporting, that you are reporting on your financial side, but you're also reporting on your impact on the environment and your impact into the social side. And there we start talking and creating the idea of sustainability. And sustainability is the first obligation and the first responsibility of a board member. My role, if I am a board member, is ensure that my company is here 5 years from now, 10 years from now. That means that board members should be the people that they are the more sensitive to this discussion about 24/7, because they are the ones that they need to understand the risk of the activities of the company, and those now they are forced to be reported on the environmental side and on the social side. So it's natural then that once we are covering food safety, then we go into the next part of sustainability that will be environment and social. Now, environment, there is already ISO norms that talk about environment, that is for 14,001, but there was nothing on the social side. And people have been turning first to the environment side and then to the social side. And now the legislators are catching up and coming not only with requirements for environment, but also with requirements to the social side, to the respect of human rights, to the conditions of work of the employees, to the employment conditions, to the safety of the environment where your workers are, to the safety of the buildings, etc., etc. So then it's a natural step to go and say, oh, we need also to manage the social side of the company. And that will give a full picture of what the company is doing. Okay, so when we are talking about social, you need to think that as a wagon on the sustainability train. The engine today tends to be the environment, but it's unstoppable that after looking at the environment, we will look at the social. So over the last year, there have been much done and discussed about environment, and this started being controlled and managed, and there are requirements and there are controls, and now is the time for the social side. So this is exactly what 24/7 is looking at. This is the topics there. Human rights, forced labor, child labor, you can read them. It's everything that touches conditions of work, environment, human rights, and everything that touches your worker, your providers, and the people that are affected by the activities of your company. Now, what is the right way to manage that? The right way to manage that is through a management system, because you should evaluate the risk of your activities, and based on your activities, you set what are the controls that you need to put in place. I'm not teaching you or not telling you nothing new. You all know that. You know what is a management system. And what 24/7 propose is a management system, is changing the governance of a company to ensure that those topics, the social topics, are given the necessary attention, the necessary resources, and they are managed and controlled on a proper way. It's no more than that. Like any other ISO norm, but in this particular case, on the social side. Why there is this need, I mentioned that already, is because society is asking for that. There is less and less tolerance for abuses. You have scandals. You have then pressure from society. This pressure for society moves to the political people, because the political parties, they do what they see and what they hear. There is a problem into a country. And if people talk about social issues, the politicians, they will talk about social issues, and they will push the legislators to create laws to controlling those abuses, to controlling corruption, to control bad working conditions, etc. So the legislature, they are just echoing through the political parties what society is saying. Okay, and you have many expressions of that, and we will look at that. You have that from new figures that appears now, like what we call the activist investors. So you have one day, one person that appears on the General Assembly of your company and said, well, you know, I have one share of your company, so I have the right to talk, and I would like to ask you, what are you doing on the social side? What is the conditions of work of your workers? Or I want to denounce that in this particular location, you are doing this and this and this, and this is not right. So this figure is over the last year that has appeared, this investor that they are activists, and also NGOs that they are really focalized into that. Even more organized than that, you have now, for example, associations of investors that they create funds that is what they call for green investment or sustainable investment, that they look at the social side, and because they have a leverage of billions of dollars or billions of your money into that company, they force and they are capable to influence actively the company that you are working for. So you have the regulatory, and we'll talk in particular about that. And as I said, NGOs, the supply chain management requirements, like the SECI. So you have a real movement that you see on the press, and you see more and more a strong reactions from the people to social issues, to the point of proposing boycotts, pushing really the companies into action. Okay, so we have talked about that. You have safety of workers, Rana Plaza in Bangladesh. You know this disaster. In fact, it has an influence on many companies that they were buying products there, and they realized that they were not controlling the conditions of work on those locations, and now everybody is applying the lesson and trying to have controls about the conditions of work and the buildings for the companies that they are not their company, that they are on their supply chain. Corruption. So corruption cases, the Me Too. So on scandals on sexual harassment, all the topics of the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. All this is moving and on a way that is really giving the hint that is something that we will not be able to avoid, and that is something going forward. Yeah, that's Rana Plaza. So Benetton, Walmart, Primark, Zara, Inditex, so all those companies that were affected by this. Now let's think about that. Why this is really an issue? What this should be an issue for a board, or for a board member that is risk averse and behave on how I avoid risk for my company, is that we are talking about reputation. Social issues, they, in most cases, tend to impact the reputation of the company. And you all know that if you evaluate the risk of a company, if you have a financial risk, okay, you deal with that. If you have an operational risk, The factory stopped for 3 weeks. Okay, so bad, we can deal with that. But a reputational risk, it will cost you way more than a financial risk or an operational risk. A reputational risk can put a company in the knees and can put you out of business. So I have this experience for the food business that is based on trust. I cannot imagine someone doing advertising like, oh, eat my product, it will be very good and you will like it and it's very nutritious and maybe it will kill you. That doesn't work. Trust is the base of the food industry. And there are many other industries where trust is the key element, virtually everyone. But there are some where this is extremely significant. So when we are talking about the social side, we are talking about trust and reputation. And this is why this is important, and this is things that you can use to convince a customer that they need to do things like that. Okay. So yeah, regulatory context, I will go through that, but you have a list of laws regarding corruption, regarding trade sanctions, regarding compliance, regarding human rights, regarding money laundering. There are many laws. The only one that I want to stop on is those two that they have started in Europe in 2023, and the second one that will start in 27. If there is an error here, I will correct. It's not 17, it's 27. It's 3 years from now. So today already, big corporations in Europe are required to report on what they are doing on environmental and social and governance. So demonstrate that they have a good governance and that they are managing their environment impact and the social impact. For the time being, it's just reporting. It's just as part of my annual report, I have an addendum to my annual report that said, this is what I'm doing on the environmental side and on the social side. Starting January 1st, 2027, in 3 years from now, which is a short time, because if you are a big company, you need a good couple of years to put that in place, you need to demonstrate social due diligence. And if you don't do that, that can cost you 5% of your net proceeding of sales, which in some cases can be a lot of money. So this law from the European Union has been approved on the first quarter of this year. The next year, 2025, it will be translated into law from the countries that they are members of the European Union. And in 2027, 28 and 29, it will be deployed from big companies down to mid-size companies and virtually probably many thousands of companies up to a certain amount of money. They start with 150 millions, I think, and more than, I don't remember, 1,000 employees or something like that. Now, if you are selling to the European Union, if you are operating into the European Union for a certain amount, you will also have to follow this law. And this law is also applicable for European companies down to the end level into their supply chain. So I need to check my first-tier suppliers and my second-tier suppliers, and I need to do a risk assessment of all my suppliers and sub-suppliers. All right? So this is a revolution, let me say so. Therefore, companies that they were so far doing just a little check, or they were doing an audit that it was no more than a checklist, they will not be able to satisfy this law. Because what this law asks? Well, what the legislator is saying is that if you have just an audit, you make an audit and you have a checklist like SMETA, for example. If you do this checklist, you do the same checklist if you are, I don't know, let's imagine a service company in New Delhi, okay? And it's exactly the same if you are a mine industry in Central Africa. So the risk, for example, or coffee, or yeah, diamonds in South Africa. That the risk for one kind of business is very different from the risk of the other kind of business. And therefore, you need to do a risk assessment to understand what are your activities, and based on those activities, what you need to control. The risk of child labor on a service company is low. The risk of child labor on a mining industry is higher, or on agriculture, all right? So they have understood that that doesn't work. Therefore, what they are asking is, you need to do a risk assessment. You need to, based on that, set a number of controls, train the people, do some advertisement inside your company, and do some training inside your company, and do some learning inside your company, and put monitors and monitor what is happening, and look at the results and go again. In fact, what they are saying is, you do what an ISO standard does, because they know that that works. ISO standard works because they change the way that your company works. As an ISO standard force to change the governance of your company on a way that you guarantee that you are putting the attention to the topic. And because of that, when you read this law, and you will have the link for this law, what you see is exactly or virtually what an ISO standard said. Do a risk assessment and down, and do your cycle, go see SYNACT. Okay, go do SYNACT. So again, you always have the negative approach to that. That is the fines, and there are also fines that they are attached to those laws. And more, what we see is that after the European Union does a lot like that, other countries start doing the same. And now countries in South America, in Asia, they start developing laws that they have a similar approach. It will not be here tomorrow, but it will be here over the next years, because, as I said, there is no way that we don't look at these issues. So just to summarize, leave a few minutes for discussion. What we are talking is the reputation of the company. And we are talking, therefore, about social scandals that can happen at any time in your company or in the supply chain of your company. And you can use that to discuss with the company and say, what are you really doing on this topic? Are you really aware of all the risk that your activities bring? Okay. And therefore, let's set a management system that will be able to manage those systems. You can talk, well, you can have all the good practice that you can use. Here I have a list: United Nations Global Compact participation, the United Nations Global Compact, FSSC 24000 touches at least 5 of the Sustainable Development Goals. You need to develop responsible sourcing into your company. That means evaluate all your providers, check the risk linked to each one of your providers, and decide for which one you need to take actions. And therefore, talk sustainability and enlarge the idea of sustainability from purely environment to environment and social. That is what we are asked now to do. Now, who are the best people to talk? So first and clearmost is board members, CEO and board members. Even more board members than CEO. CEOs tend to be more operational driven. Board members, they are long-term driven and they are risk averse. And of course, supply chain managers. So to discuss what are the risks related to your supply chain, looking at outside of your company and looking inside of your company, at the company is HR managers, is compliance manager, legal managers. Most in particular, if they have a human rights or a sustainability champion, that is already a good sign that this company is taking care of those issues, or they are concerned of those issues, and those people that can be a good ally to introduce yourself into those companies. Now, what is a company? What is the competition around? Just to finish with that, SAS 1000 is the only one that has a management system, but it's not an ISO management system. So you need to develop that on your own. and you need to find auditors that they're specific to SAS 1000. While with 24,000, it will be much more easy to have people that understand already the ISO management system. And then SMETA, that in the particular case of this European law, it will not be any more useful for cover the requirements of this law, because this law requires that a management system is in place and that risks are evaluated, and so that the controls from one company is different from the controls of another company based on their activities. So probably your first target should be people that are already running another ISO norm, in particular, for example, 9001 for quality. That's quite large for sure. Food companies that they are running 22,000, sorry, on food safety. But any ISO user will be very easy to turn and to discuss about introducing another ISO norm into their portfolio and into their management system. So that's it. I want to save a few minutes for question. As Smita said, this is just a first teaser, just to introduce 24,000, and I hope I have covered why it's important, and then how, or the first ideas on how to approach potential customers. Now, we are developing a specific content for consultancy, and that will come over the next weeks and months. Raman?
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. A very interesting a session, very insightful one also. A couple of questions, maybe we'll just throw it open to the audience. I have just one question. One is, in Smita's presentation, she was talking about the public register that is being created. That's a very interesting initiative, because this is what actually marketplace is looking for. Tracing and kind of tracking of the genuineness of the certificates. So having created a public register, I just wanted to know whether you are sharing this, communicating this to the industry and various stakeholders to keep referring this registry. That is very, very critical, because because we see participate in conversation in various stakeholder conversations. So where are these registries available is a common question. Maybe I think some more focus can be kind of created there to reach out to the industry corridors and the various other stakeholders and communicate to them that here is the registry which they can use. Be very useful, especially for the supply chain management.
Totally, and thank you for your question. The public register has been there on our website for FSSC 22,000 for quite some time.
Okay.
And we are trying to popularize it with every webinar, every talk, every event that we go to. We talk about the public register, and we also are trying to make sure that the CVs talk about the public register when they talk about FSSC. So yeah, it is available. It's been there for 22,000, for 24,000 also the same thing will be applicable. And you're very right, the genuineness of the certificate is very critical. You and I both know what happens in India with fake certificates. So there's also an introduction now with version 6 of a QR code that you can scan, and it will take you to the, it will tell you all the details and take you to the website. So yeah, it's there.
There's a lot of greenwashing that is happening, likely to happen more than the industry corridors. It is the end users, the consumers should know more about all this.
Yeah.
Very, very critical. Another quick question. There was a mention about SSCI, and you were talking about a recognition. Is that a standard or is that a recognition?
It's a recognition. So SSCI has standards which they use to benchmark the schemes against their requirements.
Okay.
So it is a recognition that, say, FSSC 24,000 has, because we are now benchmarked with the SSCI requirements, and so we have the SSCI recognition. Similarly, 22,000 has GFSI, because they also have benchmark requirements that the schemes have to meet up. Yeah.
And again, coming back to this benchmarks that you were talking about, we just want you to focus on creating a registry or a tool where having created the schemes, you can also create the benchmarks. Again, for the industry to refer. See, one issue that we are facing in many forums today is we have standards, we have a lot of data that is sitting with the scheme owners and the CBs or accreditation bodies, but we don't see the benchmarks at all at the marketplace. So maybe some of these benchmarks, if there can be a registry or if there can be a tool which the industry, like having done so many FSSC 22,000 programs or 24,000 programs, if not a sector specific, even a sector agnostic benchmark will help. This is just a suggestion from my side. You can consider. Okay.
Okay.
We'll leave the floor open for the audience. Let me just look into the questions. And something like that. SMETA was also a little interesting in Francisco's presentation. He was touching about SMETA and the reputation management of the company. Two critical points we have picked up.
Yeah,
We
Rama,
remember.
there is there is a very interesting question here that I would like to answer.
Please.
It's from Sushas Agwain. He said, we question whether it will eliminate the demand sector specific like SMETA, BSAE, RAP, etc. So no, that will not eliminate those. But I think it will take a big chunk. Why? Because this law, what it's saying is that, let's go and say, I imagine I'm a big multinational company. I look and evaluate what are the critical components of my supply chain. And I will apply controls based on that criticality. So I will, for example, decide that I have red, orange, yellow, and green companies that are suppliers for me. For the red ones, I will ask them to have a solid standard behind, like an ISO standard. And I will go and say, if you want to operate with me, you need to have 24,000. And that is the part of the market that we will pick. But for, let's say, an orange or yellow, they will go and say, well, I just want you to have SMETA done every year or every 2 years or every 6 months. And for small, medium, or low risk suppliers, maybe I will have a reduced requirement. So no, that will not eliminate those, but that will reduce the need for those. And clearly for critical ones, they will go on something like more robust, like an ISO standard. Why? Because in the case that there is a problem, then the government will be able to go back to you and said, you had a very critical supplier and you were just asking very light requirements. And therefore, this problem happened and it's your fault. And companies that will not risk that. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. Now, before we take the questions, we request the audience poll. Aarti, can you just turn on the poll, please? Request all the participants. Just take 2 minutes of your time. Please participate in the audience poll. Very simple, 4 questions. Request all of you to participate. We will go to the questions after this. There are 58 participants here. The number was 70, and then, but so we request everybody to join quickly, join. A small booster dose for the organizers and for the speakers. Some more, please. Yeah. The next 1 or 2 minutes. Yeah.
Rama, good to
Few
see
more,
you.
yeah. Oh, yes, sir. Hello, sir. Good.
I'm in Chicago, but it's nice to see you. I'm attending this program because it was very interesting.
Thank
God
you.
bless you. Take
Thank
care.
you so much. Thank you for joining us, sir. That's all. We're not moving beyond 43. That's fine. Aarti, can we close it, please? Thank you. Thank you so much. Still. Yeah. Thank you so much. Let's move on to the Q&A now. right? Yes, so we do have a couple of questions. Yes, okay. Yeah, this is from Mr. Suhas Agwane. Whether the scheme will eliminate the demand for sector-specific ones like SMETA, BSCI, RAP programs.
I think Rama ma'am, Francisco just answered that about SMETA from this question.
Right.
Yeah.
SMETA he did answer. Francisco did answer. BSCI RAP, I think he has done it actually.
Yeah, yeah.
And so questions regarding LA courses from Vimal Patel. So when are you going to conduct lead auditor courses for the consultants?
LA courses will come from the CVs that do it typically. But for
Right.
consultants, like Francisco just mentioned, we are planning some training material, and
Good.
which is something that we'll communicate to everyone in a few weeks' time, probably.
Perfect.
So there is a plan to work out something on it for consultants.
Srikantan, sir, Mr. Srikantan is the secretary, and so he's a perfect alternative for SA 8000 and SMETA, because we do get this questions in the consultants forum. Is SA 8000 aligned? Does it have a harmonized structure like an ISO? So these questions we do come across often. Next question is cost wise. How is it compared when comparing with SA 8000?
So to just briefly answer, I can't tell you exact in
Right.
terms of, it will
Approximate.
depend on the mandates and everything.
Right.
Ours is a 3-year cycle.
Okay.
And it's a non-profit organization that's put out this standard. So because of our non-profit nature and the 3-year cycle, the cost will be competitive. It will not be. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
If
it's
I
a
can,
foundation. It's a
Yes, I think
foundation.
Francisco would like
Yes,
to add on
Francisco.
to it.
Yes,
yeah.
Francisco.
In fact, I think from the point of view of cost, maybe it's more or less the same thing. I have no idea how much it costs, but
Okay.
from another point of view that is more interesting is that it's very difficult to find SA 8000 auditors because it's so specific. Finding ISO auditors or turning ISO auditors to 24,000, it will be easier, and therefore I think it will be cheaper. Okay, on the long run, simpler and cheaper.
So when a business entity which is certified to SA 8000, when it is migrating to an FSSC 24,000, generally having implemented an SA 8000, with this kind of a migration also, maybe you may consider some benefits or something like that. I don't know. What I mean is, when I say benefits, will there be an advantage in terms of pricing? Because having implemented SA 8000, they would have attained a certain business maturity. You may come across all these questions. I mean, when I mean you, not as a scheme owner, maybe your CBs will come across all this.
Yes. Yeah. Well, let's say that there is clearly will be a benefit, and it will be cheaper if the company is already running another ISO standard, because that will be automatic. They know what it is. It's the same wording, it's the same, even the same chapters with the same content. So it will be very easy to familiarize with 24,000. Now, if they don't have another ISO standard there, you can go and say, okay, why to go out of SA 8000 is I'm already mature on that, and I'm running this one.
Good. And so there's another question from Kirti. Kirti is ESG expert. So she wants to know whether the GRA indicators are aligned with the standard. Those metrics that are mentioned in the GRI, whether FSSA and GRA indicators has got some common ground.
Francisco, would you like to answer that about GRI?
No, I haven't. I don't know. Right. I will need to explore that one.
Okay. No, fair enough. That's okay. Maybe later on. By and large, the social metrics, indicators, key metrics, by and large, across all this reporting models, by and large, these are the same actually. One is a little more matured and advanced. Some schemes have very basic essential metrics. So lots of praising the session and positive feedback. So how can FSSC 24,000 support industries with complex global supply chains where the social risks are very high?
Yeah, this is a very good question. In fact, that is at the core of the norm, like on any other ISO standard. In fact, I have seen a presentation on the new European law, and they describe exactly how you go in your risk assessment on an evaluation of your supply chain. And when you have this evaluation of your supply chains, you will categorize your providers, as I said before, and based on this categorization of providers, you decide which ones you ask them to do what to show that they are doing what is right. So you will go with more stringent and more robust requirements to your higher risk and your lower risk. But you will have to do every year, as part of your risk evaluation, an assessment of your supply chain and a control that your supply chain is behaving the way that they need to do based on the controls that you put in place. So that is exactly the core of this. If you don't do that, I believe it will be a nightmare to go and try to understand what is happening in your supply chain without categorizing the risk of your suppliers. Honestly, I will not even try to do that otherwise. It's the only logical way to do it for me.
Right. Now, there's a good question from Mr. Shubham Sharma. Is FSSC 24,000 acceptable by US brands like Target, IKEA, like buyers?
Well, this is coming. So the norm is very new. Smita, you can comment on that already, but I know that already companies like Nestle accept 24,000, Metro, supermarkets, Ahold. So it's just starting now, and I think this list is growing weekly. You have other people that examine, well, all the SSCI members. That is a long list there now that this is SSCI approved. So there is 20-something, I think, members of SSCI. So that is coming. So at the beginning on the food, because it's what it was closer to us. But I hope with the time that will expand and expand. Smita, you have any other comment on that? You have
No,
maybe
I think
other
you've
names?
answered it. So because we have the global recognition, it's going to be much easier for bigger companies to accept it, because like I said, SSCI, not all the standards have it. So it would really be useful for big companies to have an SSCI recognized scheme. And that is where we fit in. And like Francisco said, it's a very new standard. So like Nestle and Metro have started it, there will be others that we hope will also.
There's a response from Mr. Vimal Patel, where he feels that compared to the EcoVadis and Together for Sustainability programs, FSSC 24,000 will be more transparent, is what he says.
Yeah.
So that is what he's mentioning.
Comment, yeah.
Yeah, and so currently this 24,000 was published in the year 2022. So how many accreditation bodies exist now for 24K other than global standards, SC, Mexico, etc.?
Okay.
Can I repeat?
No.
Yeah.
So I
Right,
can
sure.
kind of if you go on to our FSSC website, we have a list of CBs that have the license now to do an FSSC 24,000 audit. I think the last count I remember was about 10 or 11. Francisco, am I right? So yeah.
I cannot tell you. I know
Yeah, so I think we had
Right,
we had all the global CBs which already have a license for
Yeah.
24,000 for doing the audits. If you ask me which company has a certificate right now, like I said, this standard was launched recently. We've been starting to talk about it only maybe from October 2023. So it's relatively new now. And we are hoping that this will be 2024 will be the year 24,000 does, something we get in our first certificates. So that is where we are looking at it. But just to share a piece of good news, I think our first 24,000 audits will happen in Mexico probably early next month. And so the first certificates for 24,000 will be there on our public register again. Yeah.
Think that this is alive for a year and a half, not much more than that. So first we need to have accreditation bodies, and then certification bodies being accredited. So that this snowball effect is start very slowly, and then he runs faster. But you know, all the big ones, SGS, DNV, all they are there by now.
And also to add to what Francisco was saying, with accreditation bodies also need to line up their services to accredit CVs. So we are also
Right.
in India working with NABCB and trying to get them on board with accrediting FSSC 24,000 for the CVs who want to give an Indian accreditation. So that will also be bringing down the costs when it happens. So yeah, that's also something that's in progress.
Some interesting question again. Like your FSSC 22,000, will there be unannounced audits for 24,000 also?
Yeah. It will follow a similar structure to 22,000. Yeah.
Most of the questions are about LA courses timelines. As
Right.
they have mentioned, the CBs will take it forward. Maybe, you know, likely times the CBs, whether they are already doing LA courses or
So
likely to
24,000
launch kind of an update.
24,000 LA courses have still not been offered by any CB in India, as far as I know. The licenses like SGS, DNV, all of them have licenses now. And I have a feeling that now that things are falling in place, these courses will start getting offered. So I think all these things of them getting a license, the accreditation body getting a license, and then making training material to do a LA course is coming. But I know some of the CBs, at least the big ones, SGS, DNV, all these people are at least working on providing this going.
Yeah, both LA and IA, both the courses
Yeah,
are needed
yeah,
actually.
yeah.
That is how it is. So how ISO 26,000 has contributed towards 24,000 for the development of the scheme?
26,000.
ISO
I'm sorry, what's
26,000.
the question?
No, not really. It's totally independent,
Okay.
20,000 to 24,000. 24,000 is based on past 24,000 from the British Standard Institute. That was a team. I was part of that team, about 20 something people. And that lasted a year and a half, close to 2 years, until that the standard was finished. When the standard was published by the British Standard Institute, then FSSC took it to create the scheme. And creating the scheme was again a team of independent people from many corporations and from different companies that I was also part of that scheme creation. I've been on the whole thing. And then the scheme, the audit scheme was created. Now, what FSSC is doing is using all the knowledge and all the experience that they have for 22,000, the integrity program, and everything else, and applying as well to 24,000 to ensure trust, to ensure that if you have a certificate, you really have a certificate, etc., and that this is well managed and well controlled, and ensure the integrity of the program. That is the added value, if you want, of all the experience of food safety of 22,000 into 24, but not in the document itself, not into the standard itself.
Okay. Approximately how many organizations are certified currently to this standard? Just a ballpark figure across the globe, if you have a number.
Like I said, our first audits are happening in Mexico.
Oh, right.
And that will be the first certificates that will come
Fair
up.
enough.
Yes.
Fair enough. So we are at 2 o'clock, some numbers.
Yeah.
Right,
You know, Rama, you are quite of the first that they are having this kind of presentation. You are ahead of the game. You're really ahead of the game. It's just since 1 month or 2 that we have started really doing that, because first we had to work the accreditation bodies and the certification bodies, and now is when we are turning to the people. So
thank you.
So
and I think
thank you for that.
New.
Yeah, CCC is the global pioneer, I guess.
Thank you for that. We will have that early mover advantage, and we will also take this to the market and then try to see, because as I was mentioning, the S&G, the ethics and the social responsibility are 2 critical components which marketplace entities have to really address. Be it on a regulatory or a voluntary side.
Given that India is such a big textile hub and that we export to most countries in the world, I think this is something that we'll have to, footwear, leather and textiles both.
We'll do some.
Yeah.
Sorry, we'll invite you to Chennai, Tamil Nadu which is the hub for footwear and leather.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of manufacturers associations. We can do a program here in this belt. Not an
Yes,
issue.
absolutely.
It can be organized, maybe some virtual sessions also. So can clients who got certified to SMETA, SEDEX, SA8000 go for a transition or transfer to this certification? Both are two different platforms in the middle of their certification cycle. That's a very, very interesting questions.
So they can definitely transition from their existing
Right.
standards to 24,000. And
Okay.
in the middle of the cycle, that will be something that the CBs we'll have to work out with the CBs how that happens. And of course, we are waiting also for the accreditation body in India to be NABCB also to be on board. So it'll also be one easier thing. But there will be CBs like SGS who have UCAS and the other accreditations. But this is something that we will be able to take case by case and answer the question when it comes to that. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Thank you. I guess all the questions are done. It's all rest of it is only about some courses, programs and all that, some certification programs and all that for the consultants. That you have answered it already. So I guess so no
just
more
one thing,
questions.
Rama ma'am.
Yeah.
Like we said, this is a series. Today's
Oh,
was
yes,
just the
yes,
first
yes.
start. So even to answer questions on like what does the standard contain, what are the clauses, how does it
Got it.
look, so that is something that we'll work with you. We'll be happy to work with CCC again and kind of do a deeper dive into this if there's an appetite from the audience for this.
Needed. If the audience are ready, if all of them are ready, actually even the rest of the audience, today's session, the last number I saw, it was close to about 140 registrations. What happens generally is, now we have pampered the audience from the day one. So they register. The ones who could not attend it, they know
want
that
the
they will get the
recorded.
recording link.
Yes.
So they will watch this recording at their convenience. This has been the pattern. So they know that only if they register, they'll get the recording link. That is
Correct.
how it is. So technically, there are about 140 registrations for this session today. It shows the interest of the audience. And we need to plan some more. We have been asking Foundation FSSC to do series of knowledge sessions on this particular topic, to go a little more deeper into this, to guide the consultants on how to implement and all those things, which will be really helpful for them. And then all of us are maybe will be geared to take this to the market. This is a sector agnostic one and applicable for many businesses, many sectors.
Yeah.
So maybe few more sessions are needed. If all the audience are willing, yes, we will take it forward. So we've come to the fag end of the session. Thank you so much. I know Shantanu-ji has joined or not. Shantanu-ji has actually been coordinating, initiating this exercise from the beginning. He was traveling today, I guess. Unfortunately, he couldn't join. So as I said, we have two associations, two platforms. Our interest is actually to empower the consulting fraternity, the practitioners, and then to also empower the industry and various stakeholders, and also to take these courses we are doing as Consultants Association. We have demonstrated our social responsibility. We are designing capsule courses like this in the colleges.
Okay.
To the students, to make them understand what it is. Capsule sessions and all our courses are linked to standard certifications and regulations, because even technical institutions and various other colleges, arts and science, today we do a lot of entrepreneurship courses where we integrate all this. We have a very vibrant standards club in the country, which is a national standards body, is Bureau of Indian Standards. They have created standards clubs in the schools. School children are getting exposed to what is a standard, and we see very vibrant initiatives happening in the country. So we are taking it to the colleges because when they really hit the industry corridors, at least they will know what all these programs are all about, schemes are all about. Majority of them are getting into QA, QC and all those regulatory affairs compliances. So our interest is to educate all the stakeholders, and the markets have seen the bad side of this. Some of the social audit certifications also. Somebody has commented that the certificates are lying everywhere. So responsible certifications, responsible compliances is the need of the hour in the country. And so our focus is actually to bring that culture and ensure that that culture is nurtured and maintained. So we would like to thank FSSC once again, Foundation FSSC, Francisco, Smita, and Colin. I guess he's also here. Smita, you
Yes.
mentioned he wanted to speak for a few minutes. Why don't we invite? Is he available? I saw some
Yes.
comments.
Colin, if you're online, would you like to
Yes,
just say
please,
hello?
because we would like to hear from you.
Colin?
I guess.
Yeah, hello, can you hear
Oh,
me?
yeah, he's here.
Hi, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
hi.
Welcome, welcome. Hi.
I was making sure I was properly on mute, but that was great. Thank you. Can you see me okay?
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Oh, marvelous. Thank you. Well, thank you very much for having me. That was a brilliant session. I really enjoyed it. And such great questions. Really, really great questions. And well answered. Thank you both of you as well for answering the questions. It was really enjoyable, and looking forward to working with India much more actually, and very excited. I'm actually quite new to FSSC as Market Development Director, joining in the past few weeks, and very excited to be here, and really really appreciate the ability to come today. Thank you so much. Thank you. Is
Thank you.
anything
Looking
else?
forward to have a few
Colin
more
will be-
sessions from.
Colin will be in India with me when we come to Chennai to do some sessions for the leather and textile.
Now we'll plan something,
Absolutely
because
brilliant.
we have our our chamber, Andhra Chamber of Commerce. One is one of the oldest chambers, 95-year-old chamber. So we did a program just about few months ago, a national standards conclave, where exclusive session for footwear sector. So we have we had a good audience participation. Industry associations have joined hands. Let's plan something for leather and footwear sector. I will plan the associations.
Yeah.
Education continue, the series up to continue, stakeholders connect engagements. We will also invite you to contribute some articles, Smita, to be published in the
Absolutely.
Chamber's
Yes.
newsletter, news
Yeah, I'll be
bulletin
more
every
than
month.
happy to do that.
So just keep sharing. No, I'll write to you. Just keep sharing articles. Let it go and viral. Let the industry know that something is available, and because the community engagement and social responsibility initiatives, only the large enterprises are doing something actually. Medium enterprises to some extent, but small and micro businesses, they can do many such things. Some low-hanging fruits in their own way. But that social initiative, social impact initiatives, not much happening in a big way. The government of India, the country's focus is also to improve the industry's presence and participation in community initiatives also. A lot of initiatives which can actually make a good impact on the community. Especially many sectors. If you really look at sectors like healthcare and other sectors where they're supposed to contribute, do so much for social, in the form of social impact. But not much is happening, to be very honest. So we will continue to do these conversations. Maybe over a period of time, we will be in a position to come out with sector-specific capsule sessions also. The same FSSC, sector-specific, which will have a much wider audience and more interest also. So thank you once again to all the wonderful audience who regularly participate and join us. Been quite some time. We had a break, actually 3-4 months. We didn't do many sessions. The last session we did was about 3 months ago, I guess. So we will continue to do more engagements. Let's roll out, plan for something, some interesting sessions. We will take FSSC 24,000, we'll take it forward. So thank you so much to the audience. We will share the speakers' presentations with their permission, and the recording of the session also will be shared. Please share it with your colleagues and industry members and even your fellow consultants. Thank you for your participation and joining us today. So maybe till we meet again next time, maybe with yet another session, one more session. Till then, goodbye.
Thank you very much.
right.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we have a quick pick? Can we have a quick pick, Aarti? You're here. All of us, can we have a quick pick, please? All the
Yep.
audience, all the.
Yep.
Aarti, you're there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Mine got logged out. Oops. Yeah, no, 1 second. I got logged out, I guess. Just a second. My internet is not stable today. I guess. My net was troubling. Sorry, my sincere
No
apologies.
problem.
Yeah.
No issues. No issues. Yeah.
Yes. All of us grid mode, Aarti. I request everybody to turn on the cameras. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Good
Bye-bye.
night. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
It's really a wonderful session.
Thank
Keep joining us. Keep joining us regularly.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay, ma'am.
Can I end the meeting, ma'am?
Yeah, end the meeting, Aarti, please.